Hello everyone, my name's Pete and I don't like cheese, Back to the Future or MMOs. I've been playing a bunch of MMOs to make a decision on a game by game basis instead of sweeping generalization, and my goodness have I made a fool out of myself and my stupid assumptions. This video is brought to you by the world's most patient Patreon supporters. If you like wasting money, you can follow a link in the description and see your name here too. And don't forget to suggest MMOs for me to try in the comments, or alternatively, yell at me when I get something wrong. Fallen Earth Classic was a recommendation from the comments section. I've tried to find who recommended it, but I can't seem to see it, so whoever you were, thank you. I also made sure to watch this video after writing my script, so I didn't copy anyone's homework. Launching the game takes you rather sensibly to the character creation screen. It's nothing too remarkable and perfectly functional. It's preset based, which is fine by me, and the choices are just varied enough to be worth clicking through. You can change body hair for whatever reason, and you can choose your shirt but not your trousers. This section is eerily silent. I'm not sure if this is another Tibia moment where there's no soundtrack, but I'll investigate that later. Here's what I'll be controlling. I'm not a huge fan of the collar, but there's no option to remove it. Finalizing and pressing play throws you straight in control, standing outside some kind of pod with the instruction to move into the larger room ahead. The game starts making noises and wants me to interact with a computer. The computer tells me I need to kill the man in here with me, so I punch him dead. Here I'm told to use tab to switch between aim mode and pointer mode with the mouse. I report back to the computer, and suddenly voices. And not just voices, but surprisingly good voice acting. The disembodied voice tells me I need to do as she says or I'll die, and that's as good a motivation as any. The dialogue choices have a skip tutorial option present, and I always like these options, but obviously I'm not going to press it now. Instead I behave myself and do as I'm told. It turns out I'm in Hoover Dam, and I can't help but immediately think Fallout New Vegas. Apparently the button I just pressed activates a cloning cycle, and I learned that I am in fact a clone, created by a man named Alec Masters. Myself and others like me were created for experiments and organ harvesting, and I learned that the collar that I don't like is my clone collar, and I can be contacted through it, which is where I'm hearing the voice from. This facility is under attack, and Elena, the lady giving me my orders, needs my help to get us both out of here. The Children of the Apocalypse, or Chota, are the aggressors in this scenario, but Elena believes she can guide me safely around them. So I advance down a hallway, and there's already some simple but effective design here, from the gloomy shadows both above and below the walkway, demonstrating how far underground I am and how big this place might be, and the gruesomely scattered corpses showing that things here are not going well. In the next room, this very kind corpse allows me to take his decorative axe from his skull, that I may better defend myself. And I move through the rubble to find a friendly soldier taking cover, who tells me I should handle the enemies ahead, because I'm basically immortal. As a clone, if I die, I will simply regenerate, and that's pretty cool because I'll die a lot. I advance on the enemies and begin hacking away at them. The lack of any noises for combat is quite disturbing, so I search through the options menu, and I find all relevant sound settings set to 0. Turning them up, I'm greeted with some nice ambient music, and a few steps later, satisfying choppy noises when my axe connects. There's also gunfire, which I probably wouldn't have heard if I'd left the settings at default, and that would have been problematic if I was being shot at and didn't realise. I loot the guy's gun, and I'm given a brief if slightly confusing tutorial on how to switch weapons. The keybinds and the menu interactions aren't immediately intuitive, and some experimentation is required before I start understanding where to find everything. I can have up to 6 weapons equipped at once, and they're assigned by default to control and numbers 1 to 6, or I can hold control and use the mouse wheel to cycle through them. In the next room there's a fight happening and I get to join in, but this time with my new gun, which has a scope. The gunplay is fairly good, everything works as expected with the exception of the range limit on bullets. Here I can see and aim at these enemies on the walkway ahead, but shooting at them does nothing until I get closer. When everyone's dead, I'm told to get some medical supplies from the surviving friendly guys. They give me more information on the fighting factions, which means nothing to me, and send me on my way with some supplies. In the next room I'm shown how to use abilities as I patch up another friend just before we're attacked by a group called the White Crow. We kill them, I take their loot, and then continue on my merry way. So far every voice line has been delivered competently, and because this is so rare in voiced MMOs, it's a real standout feature. After ascending an elevator and doing some more shooty-hurty, Elena comes under attack, and I hear it through my collar. She manages to defeat her attackers, but when she tries to give me further instruction, radio static overrides her voice. And then I start getting a load of messages in the centre of the screen telling me I have acquired knowledge on 20 or so things. I hope I'm not supposed to remember all this. I accidentally switch into first person mode, and this enhances the already present Fallout vibes I'm picking up. I meet a guy in the next room who tells me he needs my help driving a bomb to its detonation destination. I'm reminded that being a clone means that death is of no importance, and Harvey leads me to the ATV parked on the lower level of a warehouse. Apparently it's parked next to some dangerous barrels and needs to be driven away. When I get down to do that, I'm attacked by some mutants that are called Underdwellers. Once they're dispatched, I can ride the ATV and I go up in a glorious fiery explosion and die. And now, I want you to see in full the scene that follows.
Welcome to LifeNet, a product of Global Tech. If you're seeing this, you are dead. But don't worry, with LifeNet, death is just a minor setback. You may be feeling confused, disoriented, or even a little scared. It's understandable. You just had your vigorous, happy life interrupted by...
explosion.
Please, accept our condolences. But no more dwelling on the past. Right now, LifeNet is reconstructing your body. Thanks to our patented physical fitness will... The magic of rebirth happens inside LifeNet's patented regeneration pod. And with finest refined, and your perfectly cloned body comes out. You've also been fitted with a wireless neural scanner, providing dynamic syncing between your brain and the LifeNet database. Your memories will be... But wait, there's more.
Hello? Am I coming in? Clone, can you hear me? It's Elena Winters. Your stunt with the ATV saved the dam. It's thanks to you I'm alive to have this conversation. Even so, the battle took its toll. The dam fell to the Chota. The Chota got revenge on Alec Masters, but not before he added one last entry to his list of sins. Masters destroyed the LifeNet core, the mainframe for all the cloning chambers in the province. This has changed everything. LifeNet's creators never planned for this. They dreamed LifeNet would end the limits of a single lifetime and save humanity from its fear of death. Masters showed us the truth. People are afraid of death, but even more afraid of losing control. He sacrificed you and every other clone to keep anyone else from having access to immortality. So I did what I could. I rerouted your DNA through the auxiliary computers in the province, but it wasn't easy, or quick. It's been 4 years since you died saving the dam. The destruction of the core damaged the backup storing your DNA. Worse yet, your future cloning potential has been compromised. You're dying, and I don't know how much time you have. Once you die, you stay dead, just like the rest of us. There's one way to fix this. You have to find the alpha clones whose DNA makes up the LifeNet database. If you can integrate their undamaged DNA with your own, you can undo what Masters did and restore your immortality. The only clue I've found points to the LifeNet facility near Embry Crossroads. There's a LifeNet technician there who can explain the alpha clone's location. You're about to wake up in a LifeNet station. The computer there will let you choose where to begin your new life. Remember what I told you. You're special. You were created to be immortal. LifeNet can give you back what Masters stole from you. Don't forget that. And don't forget me.
I cannot praise this enough. It does so much from both a narrative and gameplay perspective that it could easily be used as a measuring stick for how games move you from the tutorial to the game. Let's talk about what it did. First of all, it provides a canon in-game reason for you to respawn. You're part of a cloning system and can be rebuilt. Then it gives you motivation to go and explore because you're on the brink of losing that immortality. The 4-year time gap between those events and now provides the means for slowing down the pace from what was just happening. There's no need to have a forced sense of urgency based on the events and combat that just unfolded. This means you can settle in for the exploration that follows. There's also a long-term task provided, meaning no matter what you do when you get control again, you'll have a goal to work towards. And it manages to create this situation whilst also keeping the established plot completely relevant, using the aftermath of what happened and the same characters and factions to move the story along. This plot is absurdly involving and it makes me genuinely curious about how it'll unfold. As promised by the cutscene, I'm faced with a computer that offers me a choice of starting areas. Each of these areas has a focus with a choice of crafting, farming and gathering, or combat. I choose crafting because why the heck not, and off we go. I'm spat into what looks like another underground bunker and I'm faced with several NPCs. My quest tracker points me to the right person to get me started, and then I'm sent on a series of kill X and collect X quests. It's looking like generic MMO stuff for now, but actually taking part in this one feels different somehow. Now we walk up to the surface, and this gives me my final push that I need to settle my comparison to Fallout New Vegas. This is a comparison that I'm going to try not to come back to. I go about my tasks doing as instructed and receiving skill books as a reward, and I'm starting to get the feeling that there are a lot of skills here, and just the thought of tracking and using them all is starting to feel like a daunting undertaking, but I do my best to ignore that and just continue playing. When gathering, it looks as though every act of doing so increases the relevant skill. Here I'm collecting copper from deposits and increasing my geology skill by 1 each time. I also get a crafting tutorial, using the copper I found to make some cheap ammunition. The crafting menu confused me temporarily, but when I got the hang of it I was pleased to discover that while the crafting is all a timed process, it's also passive, meaning you can queue up all your crafting tasks, then go about your business while it happens in the background. While the crafting is happening, I experiment with the range limit for engaging enemies. While it can be frustrating at times not being able to shoot something you can see, I understand it as a necessity for game balance and preventing cheesing through tougher encounters. I'm also noticing that completing quests is rewarding me with AP, and I'm yet to learn about that. My next task has me learning about mounts, and I can obtain one for myself pretty soon by the looks of it. I go around collecting quests and learning bits and pieces about the wasteland and its politics, and I learn that there are 2 parties battling for power in Midway, which is the town outside the bunker. I think in this particular conversation I chose which questline I would do, but I didn't notice until I came to review the footage. So choosing the other option could alter your experience from my own, assuming you already chose to start in the crafting area like I did. I finally get my hands on a horse, and would you look at that, a mount. I need to be careful to either park it off-road so it can graze, or remember to feed it, otherwise it'll run out of stamina. It's about time I took a walk around town, and I probably should have done this sooner. It's night time now, and that's important for absolutely nothing. So, things I noticed whilst riding around town. There are NPCs having conversations, every building looks like it can be entered and contains someone to talk to or something to find. There are lots and lots of skill trainers and vendors and quest givers, and it seems like everyone wants me to do stuff because I'm a clone and my life is expendable and reusable, and I guess that makes sense. I'm given the task of making some new shirts for some gang members. Very dangerous stuff. I'm told I can either buy the stuff I need or harvest it from the available resources in and around town. I decide to gather it myself because this offers the best opportunity to learn about the gathering skills. Gathering is split between geology, nature, and scavenging. Nature includes gathering from plants and harvesting from dead creatures, geology is metal deposits, and scavenging covers old cars, trash piles, medical trolleys, and a number of other interactive objects scattered around the wasteland. It took me a long time to figure out how to get the things I need, and I actually used a bit of cash, which is casino chips and not bottle caps, that I got from selling junk to buy some materials that are required. Here's a great example of some of the weaker points of the game, and that's in the explanation of its systems. There are so many things going on with the skills, and not a lot of it is immediately obvious or intuitive. I spent a lot of time digging through menus, looking for things, and the shirt making task would have proven to be an excellent tutorial moment if it was explained step by step. It wasn't as simple as the ammo crafting from earlier, and could handily be merged into a guide for gathering, refining and crafting. As it is, it was a mildly frustrating experience of battling against icons and buttons. I did my absolute best to discover what I was supposed to do without consulting anything outside the game, because I feel that's the fairest way to judge the experience. I spent the next 45 minutes bouncing between NPCs and following icons on the map, mostly fruitlessly in regards to my task, but I did get a decent grasp of the town layout and learned the locations of some NPCs that might be useful in the future. Overall, whilst I would appreciate a tiny bit more hand-holding, I'm not put off from trying to work this out. I understand, however, that there will be players that won't feel this way, and that should probably go down as a negative. On the other hand, this is by no means the only thing for me to do here, and I could just as easily get a different quest and hope I learn something as I go. I finally find a merchant who has what I need and I begin the crafting, but I need to make black shirts, and so far I can only make shirts, and I'll need to get dyes to get them to be the correct colour, so I'll need to keep exploring to finish what I thought would be a simple task. Despite the obscene amount of skills I already have access to, there are still so many that I don't. A lot of the vendors stock skill books for me to fill those gaps if I desire to, but since I've no idea what I'm doing with what I already have, this doesn't exactly seem wise. After some more confusing menu diving, I stumble upon the AP system. I've been gaining AP since I started and I don't know anything about spending it, so I spend some time reading, guessing, and then just haphazardly assigning skill points. From what I can gather, it looks like increasing my attributes gives me a higher skill cap for the skills governed by those attributes, but I can't confirm this, it's mostly guesswork. After shooting some more prairie chickens, whose quirky name does not match their gruesome appearance, I noticed that after looting them, the option to harvest them appears. This yields extra items from bodies including meats, hides, bones, feathers and claws. I assume these things can be useful, and I know for sure that the skill increase from performing the harvesting is going to be useful. So I make a mental note to harvest every enemy I can from now on, because number go up means good. And I think that hits on what I like about this so far. Seeing numbers go up I've discovered to be one of my weaknesses. The best examples for this are RuneScape and Albion Online, and here we have another game that gives me that tiny dopamine hit with every action, and it just works. Somehow this little tiny reward makes even the most repetitive tasks feel more rewarding, and the buggers are getting away with kill X, collect X and craft X, and I'm eating it all up in the name of more numbers. I did eventually move on to tasks that weren't crafting shirts, and I found a guy named Garrus who wanted to trade some items with me. I did as he asked, but after a couple of trades the tasks began to loop, so I left him alone. All this time I spent continually forgetting that I had a horse, and the times I did remember to use it, I'd park it somewhere and forget again. It made me miss the mount system in other games where it just appears and disappears for convenience, but I'm well aware that that system is only necessary for idiots like me who don't pay attention. On a few occasions I couldn't finish quests because my inventory was full, but instead of telling you that, the game says things like "reward not ready," which feels rather frustrating. And this becomes a problem when crafting too, as you need to accept the item when it's finished, but doing so with a full inventory makes the accept button do nothing. There are some brief introductions to various factions and plenty of collect X, kill X quests to do, and so far this has been a masterclass in padding out the game, but at the same time, I'm choosing to accept these side quests and not advance the story, so that's on me. And with that in mind, I go and do more side quests. I'm still having fun with it, and the established narrative exists for when I get around to having less fun, but I think I'm satisfied with what I've seen so far. A couple of minor notes I have include the difficulty using ladders, the toughest enemies are steps, and the absence of a way to spend money, as in, there is no way to spend real money in this game, even if you really wanted to, it's impossible. And that's about all from me on this one. The Fallout vibes are strong here, but there's plenty of identity of its own. After all, Fallen Earth has something that Fallout 3, New Vegas and Fallout 4 will never have, and that's a good intro. Thanks again to the Patreon folks who waited a stupid amount of time for another video, and please give me some games to try in the comments, and other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.